BlueLock's Neo Egoist League introduced us to one of the most interesting ranking systems of all time, and that is the player salary system. It's all about who can get their bag up the most from goals and plays and get themselves a top 23 spot out of all the players in BlueLock. We're so close to the final salaries being released, however, we know that some of the rankings have been a little unbalanced. One player gets 88 million for 1 goal, and then another gets only 20 million for 2 goals, and then another gets 150 million for 3 goals, and then some players who don't even deserve to be up here. Like you're telling me a goalkeeper who hasn't blocked a single shot is worth $28 million. You could have gambled that money away and it probably would have been a better choice. Some of the salaries just don't make sense. So it's time to put on our tinfoil hats with the sole purpose of fixing every single character's salaries to find out what their true salaries are. Basing it off their NEL performances, we won't be biased to plot, giving salaries to players that don't deserve it, and also just predicting what salaries some of the players who haven't played would have actually gotten. And what no better way than to talk about Igaguri, probably the most infamous player who hasn't played. Using Igaguri as an example, salary comes from a few things, the obvious one being goals. By scoring goals, you're almost guaranteed to get a salary increase. 2, the flashiness or the actual goal itself. People would bid higher on plays that look super cool. And 3, your impact on the game. Your salary can both increase and decrease based on what you do, not just goals. For Igaguri, I don't think he would do very much. As much as I would love to see the boy succeed, there is no way we are seeing an Igaguri goal unless he pulls out the Igaguri impact. I just don't see how Igaguri would be getting anything higher than 10 million, considering he hasn't played in any games, and just based on potential, the only really thing he could do is foul someone. Now, if he fouled someone like a master striker, maybe he gets a miracle salary. However, I think this would be Igaguri's true salary if he played either 10 million or less, or maybe the plot comes through and gives Igaguri a 300 million salary. However, if you want a 300 million salary, make sure to hit that subscribe button and you'll be worth 300 million in my eyes. We are grinding the BlueLock content out, especially with season 2 coming out so soon, so make sure you join the journey before everyone else. So even though I covered Igaguri, there are some characters I'm just not gonna go over for this video because they deserve a big fat 0 million salary. Characters that are confirmed eliminated like Ishikari or Kento Cho had no chance, and if they had a true salary, it would have been 0. They really only got a salary just to fill the board up. I'll basically be covering the top 24 and up, since these are the only relevant characters to the story. We can't just imagine players we haven't seen do something that would give them a high salary. Even though I said top 24, there is currently one player who is playing and has not gotten a salary. Of course, I'm talking about Kiora Jin. This video is made as of chapter 265, where Kiora passes to Kaiser, and that's pretty much it for what he's done. He's had very little impact on the game and hasn't shown off his weapons, so we can't even base it off that. We just have to go with what we've seen, and we haven't seen it yet. We were left on a cliffhanger. It does depend if Kaiser scores this goal and then it counts as an assist for Kiora, and then he gets a salary that way. Either way though, I think Kiora's true salary would be somewhere in the 20 million mark based on his performances. Considering we're being realistic, there is no way one pass could be worth 20 million. He's done absolutely nothing, and I mean nothing outside of this pass, and it might not even end up being an assist. I might be judging a little too early since the game is still going on. However, I think Kiora's true salary based on what we've seen is 20 million. Now that we got those two out of the way, we can start fixing the salaries based on performances. We won't just rate off weapons and what we think will happen, like Igaguri, because that makes no sense. We got the evidence right here and all the games played. We've been rating pretty low for these two characters, but this is not the case for the next character we're covering, and this is of course Nanase, who is currently doing really good in Pxg. I think his 16 million current salary is really reflective of what he deserves, but now in this current match, he is currently pulling his weight and more. With the reveal of him being ambidextrous, going on defense against Kaiser, even stealing possession few times, and providing support for Rin, Nanase is a super underrated asset. Because of that, his impact on the game I think would double his current salary, and he'd have 32 million as his true salary. That's a lot of doubloons for Nanase's pockets, and I think he definitely deserves it. Even though he isn't scoring any goals, he's definitely helping out way more than players like Kiora, and we've seen it happen throughout this game. Rightful is the next one, currently at 18 million, having only played in the Ubers game and currently in Pxg. I think Rightful does deserve an increase for his performances, not too high because he isn't no godly game changer, but based on his actions and feats during the NEL, he definitely should increase a fair bit. Currently, we're seeing a lot of Rightful going after the ball, pressing, and even passing to Kaiser. he's been doing pretty well. During Ubers, it does kind of suck because he was getting sidelined. Isagi and Kaiser were somehow defending more than him, but he did attempt to defend a Master Striker, which still isn't an easy task. He just doesn't have any outstanding feats or any assists to really boost him up. I think Raichi would truly be worth around 30 million. He has a decent impact on the game. The one right above him is Hiyori, and even though he only played in the last quarter of the Ubers game, he netted himself a 20 million current salary. I think this is absolutely deserved. Hiyori is a monster who has both defended, stolen possession, and made amazing passes and assists that lead to goals. And he continues to do so in the Pxg game. Even better than that, he came out with the appetizers before, and now he is serving the main course. Watching Hiyori play is just as satisfying as cold water at 3 a.m. Everything he does just makes sense. It's clean plays all around, assisting, no-look passes, defending, and pressing. Hiyori is doing so much in this game. I think his true salary is worth 50 million. He isn't going to be scoring any goals, so he won't be getting a super high salary, but I think his midfielder feats alone bring him up here. He is a super valuable player that deserves so much more for his performances. However, the next person we'll cover is someone who doesn't deserve his rank at all, and it pains my heart to say it's Zantetsu. Off-screen, Zantetsu was given a 23 million salary, which is currently tied at the 20th spot. We all thought he would evolve, maybe even be trained by Loki because they have similar weapons. He is the exact same player from the first selection. In fact, now he's not even scoring like he did in the first selection. He's just using his speed to assist Shidou, which isn't even happening much. Let's go over the Zantetsu highlights real quick. And that's about it. So currently he has done one thing in the Pxg match, and that is stop Ness, and then he already got the ball directly after. It's such a waste of his speed, and we continue to see he has no impact on the game. He honestly shouldn't have as high of a salary as he does now. Remember, the whole point is finding out what characters are truly worth. We shouldn't be giving 23 million to a player who hasn't done much. I would honestly say he's worth 20 million alongside Kyoa because they've really only done one thing. Tokimitsu is the next one, and he's almost the same argument as Zantetsu, being one above him and having the almost same exact impact as Zantetsu, which is no impact. Tokimitsu has done a little bit more than Zantetsu, but then that's like comparing a stick to a slightly better stick. But we're rating based on what he's actually done. In the Pxg game, we definitely see him pressing more than Zantetsu, but when it comes to assisting and actually making an impact on the game for a salary, he's done less than Nanase. And it is sad because he does have a lot of potential. However, we're just basing his salary on what he's accomplished though. I'm gonna give 25 million for Tokimitsu. We can somehow get worse than Zantetsu and Tokimitsu. Fukaku Gen is the next on the list. Fukaku Gen's salary is nothing short of a charity donation. He's done no feats. I'm pretty sure he didn't block any shots in the Ubers game. Sendo blocked more shots than Fukaku Gen. They must have wanted to give Fukaku Gen a salary so he can get rid of that haircut, because in what world would you want to give him a bid? Like, am I missing something here? Was Fukaku Gen secretly the best player all along, better than everyone below him, like Hiyori and Raichi? Because this makes about as much sense as 2 + 2 = 5. The perfect cherry on top and further proof that this was a donation to the Fukaku Gen Foundation was that he wasn't even playing when we saw Ubers versus Manshine. So unless he blocked so many shots that he got tired of carrying and was subbed out, which we all know would never happen, this was purely for plot and the second goalkeeper rule for Japan. Fukaku Gen's true salary should be a participation reward. Not even a participation reward because this guy barely participated. He should get a you showed up reward. The next up is an actual competent goalkeeper, and that's of course everyone's favorite Gagamaru. I think Gagamaru has been done so dirty for his salary for the impact he's had on the game. He should definitely be way higher up. Even though he is a goalkeeper and he isn't doing these flashy header bicycle kick goals, he's been so good at blocking or even catching near impossible shots. The amount of saves he's made, giving Bastard the ball and everything like that, we should literally take all of Fukaku Gen's salary, the 28 million, and add it to Gagamaru's for 50 million. Now, next up is Corona. This is honestly the hardest or most debatable one yet. He's had incredible passes to Isagi since his first game in Manshine, which has netted him a current salary of 34 million. Planet Hotline, the fact that he's been a super reliable option, I think 34 million is a pretty good amount for him. Pxg, he just got subbed in and also has stolen possession a few times. I will say, I don't think he will make as much of an impact as Hiyori, who I gave a 50 million salary to, but I do think Corona will be vital in Isagi's goals, like he has in the past. Corona is definitely super good as a passing option. He's just not as versatile as Hiyori, so I think his true salary would be around the 40 million mark. Hiryo is next in line, and this is a really debatable one too. Because of his performance with Munchen against Pxg and Ubers, he was reduced by 6 million after getting 40 million in just one game without scoring a single goal. In Munchen, we see him doing everything from attacking, almost scoring a goal, defending and using metavision, and then obviously assisting a Nagi signature 5-shot goal, so he got a really high salary off of that. Hiryo at the beginning must have had a crafting table because he was making some unbelievable plays at the start, which I believe deserves that really high 40 million salary. However, I also think it's deserved that he goes down in salary due to his current performance. Regardless, I think Hiryo's performance of having one good game and 2 horrible games means he does deserve the current salary he has right now, so 34 million. Karasu is next, and I think he's an obvious one we have to increase. As a midfielder for Pxg, he has actually done so much. It's like Karasu was the one character Kaneshiro didn't forget about for that match. We see him actively stealing possession, going against both Isagi and Kaiser, hitting passes to Charles and stuff. Karasu's performance is severely underrated, especially for someone who doesn't even have a confirmed metavision. We can expect him to pop off later on, and with an already high 35 million salary, I think Karasu would sit comfortably at 60 million. The reason why I'm not increasing it any higher than this is because when you have a higher salary, it seems harder to earn an even higher salary. It's harder to scale. Above him is Yukimiya, who has a 36 million salary, and this is mostly coming from his goal and the 1v1 run, where he passed all the defenders unmanshine, and they got embarrassed by Prince. Yeah, that was negative 10,000 aura. If I was bidding, I personally wouldn't have given him that much, but for real, I think Yukimiya, because he hasn't played that much, and even if he did, I don't think it would increase his salary. But I think he would be good at beating players in 1v1s, helping the ball move upfield. We've also seen him defend before, so individually he has more skills than I would say someone like Corona, who can only just pass. I think Yukimiya's true salary would be around 42 million, just a slight increase. Sendo is next, and an actual underrated one. He saved a goal, has also made a goal, plays well in the formation alongside Ubers. He's actually pretty underrated. 37 million is already pretty high. I think a little increase to 45 million would be pretty good for him. I mean, he did save the Ubers game from ending and only got 2.5 million for that. I don't think it should have been worth that little. Nico is above him at 40 million. We have seen him stop a lot of plays, but we haven't seen anything too spectacular from him. Being young is both good and bad. The fact that he's young, people should invest more in him, but that also means he's not as good as some of the other players like Isagi. I mean, we literally saw him get outread. Nico is kind of like bland cereal. He hasn't really done much, so we'll just keep him at 40 million. We're almost at the end here with 10 players left. Next up is Nagi Seishiro. This is one where a little bit of a deep dive is required. Nagi stocks are really down right now, but he can also burst back up with the Barca game. There really isn't much we can go off of here. However, I will say I am still a Nagi believer. I think that he'll recover from his downfall and get a higher salary from the Barca game. So there's 2 salaries for him here. I think he'll get his 88 million back, so it's symbolism that he's back in the game or back in his prime, or he'll end up with 30 million because he didn't do anything for 3 games in a row. Above Nagi is Atoya, and wow, Atoya, man, how the hell is bro up here? I've said it before and I've said it again. Atoya's weapon is off the ball, but he is quite literally off the ball. We don't see this guy at all. When I first saw him up here, I thought it was a joke. Like someone just planted the whoopee cushion right in front of me. But taking a step back and looking at it now, I think he actually does deserve a decently high salary. Definitely not as much as the 42 million he currently has, but he did score a goal, and I guess off the ball goals are a little bit flashy, which if you don't remember was one of the requirements. He assisted Bachira in some 1-2s. If we're also considering the fact that he played in every single game, it does make sense that he has a decently high salary. The assist, however, was such a simple one, and we didn't even see the goal he made. However, he does still have the Munchen match, and I guess he has some feats. For his true salary, I think he should be at 37 million. Reduce it by 5 because his impact is definitely not as important as some of the other important ones like Karasu. We're nearing the end here with the next one. Keeping it going is Ryu Jubei, the stick bug defender. Even though I love my boy Ryu, I'm kind of confused why he is up here so high. Like Atoya, I think Ryu's salary does come from kind of being consistent or playing in every single game. He started in the first game of Ubers over players like Barou and Nico and continued to do so. As much as I do think he is an underrated character, in my opinion, he hasn't really proved it in the Ubers game. We really only saw him do a few 1v1s and a few blocks, but those are expected as a defender. If he lost a 1v1 in a height battle at 6'5", you might just be the worst player. Between Ryu and Nico, they're honestly really tied between who you'd want to pick on your own team, and I think they're tied here for salary as well, so I'm gonna reduce Ryu to 40 million. Now we're getting to the big boys, starting with the worst of the best, essentially, and that is Kunigami. Now, I honestly thought Kunigami would score in the Pxg match, and that would raise his salary a lot, but now he's on prison duty with Shidou. But I actually still think this would raise his salary, especially because it's something we've never seen Kunigami do before. Kunigami pulled out another card from the wild card deck, and that is somehow being able to defend against another top striker with what seems to be Pilates. Kunigami needed a Hail Mary after that Ubers performance where he was about as useful as a tree, and he absolutely got that by defending against Shidou. Because now that he has something new in his arsenal, he isn't just a one-trick pony that can steal goals, he can now defend, and we finally see him in flow for the first time. Not only defending, Kunigami is still supporting his team very well, even assisting Isagi while fending off Shidou, and then we have his 2 goals from before. I think this performance in the Pxg game makes up for his underwhelming performances in the other games. It shows his potential with working with a team, and also a random defensive ace up his sleeve. Because of that, I think Kunigami's true salary would be around 75 million, a 25 million increase, taking in consideration everything that he's done. We are at the final 7, the 7 players we have to reevaluate and give accurate salaries to. Not reducing their salaries for plot or giving them salaries for plot. Currently, number 7 is Chigiri Hyoma, and I think this is another obvious one we have to increase. He is single-handedly carrying Manshine with a goal in every single match, and he only has 55 million. I truly believe they reduced Chigiri to be sort of equals with Kunigami, so the Egoist 4 debate could be closer. But if you look at Chigiri's feats alone, he can present a stacked-out LinkedIn profile with how many he has. Defensive feats coming in with speed, moving up the field and passing players with his speed, and then scoring with his speed. He is way too undervalued for how much he's accomplished, especially with Nagi and Ryo getting the milk. If anything, he should be competing with Botcher for salary and not Kunigami. The only criticism about Chigiri is the fact that his goals aren't the flashiest, it's just the 44 Panther snipe, but the build up to the goal and crossing everyone at Mach speed definitely makes up for it. With another game to prove himself as well, and the fact that he has done so much for Manshine, I think his true salary lies around the 100 million mark, the first one we're adjusting this high. The next character is the best defender in the BlueLock food chain, Oliver Aiku at currently 60 million salary. Honestly, for the Ubers match, I personally don't think he did as much as he did in the U20, but that's just because he did so good in the U20 match that his bar is really high, and still he does meet that bar. It is hard to surpass a high bar, and he might have done it with the development of Metavision, the snake defense thing again. Aiku took off the brakes and started going nuts for the ball. We even see him move upfield and take initiative in the Ubers plans. 60 million is high, but we're gonna go higher just like the bar he set and go for 80 million, which is high for a defender who doesn't score goals, but he isn't the #1 defender in Japan for no reason. Botcher is up next, and he really does have the same argument as Chigiri. They're way more equal in terms of that. They both have 3 goals, they can both move upfield, and they're both carrying their teams right now. Botcher does lack that defense, but makes it up with flashy goals and creativity, which we do know takes the cake when it comes to getting a higher salary. I mean, the B shot is just a prime example of this. When we first saw this shot, this became a top 10 BlueLock moment in everyone's list. So even though Chigiri proved himself to be a way more versatile character, Botcher just puts on a show I think people would value, so we're gonna put him at 110 million salary. Shidou Ryusei is our 4th one, and he gets all his salaries in the NEL from his goals. We know he has a good physique and actually good game reading skills, but it's more of just flashy goals and the way he positions himself for those goals that really gives him his salary. I mean, diving headers twice and a total of 4 goals scored. While sharing the spotlight with Rin, he somehow still manages to stick out. Shidou is high fashion when it comes to his goals, and it pays off, netting him a current salary of 100 million. So I actually think Shidou deserves the salary he currently has, even though he has more goals than Botcher, who is higher than him. He's also getting shut down by Kunigami at the moment. He also hasn't shown that versatility that the others have. It's mostly just goals, but still flashy goals, that give him the 100 million salary. Tied for second is Barou at 150 million, and this comes at the highest goal amount at 7. I completely think they nerfed Barou to the ground when it comes to salary. I mean, he has 7 goals, which means they were only worth 20 million each. I can get the argument that the goals weren't flashy or impressive like Shidou, or that he was spoon-fed some of the goals because Ubers was helping him, but still, you got a triple nutmeg in there, and still the fact that he can score 7 goals is absolutely insane. Barou isn't just limited to scoring as well. He works well within a system. He doesn't even work in the system. Actually, he made the system work for him, and because of that, we've seen him be way more flexible, even defending with the king block. showing off some of the new assets we've never seen from him before. Like, who would have thought he would be defending when you already have an all-star lineup of defenders? I think due to plot, they made the number 1 and 2 spots between Isagi and Rin so they can fight for it in the Pxg game, so they nerfed Barou to the ground pretty much. I think the triple nutmeg is worth 50 million itself, and then still 6 goals worth 20 million at least. Add in 20 million for his other defensive feats, the kind of assist to Sendo, and the fact that he is the top goal scorer. I think Barou's new salary is 200 million. Honestly speaking, this is maybe even on the lower side because 7 goals, are you kidding me? Who else would put numbers up like this? Alright, we are finally at the 2 the people have probably been wondering about the most. Starting off with our protagonist, it's Isagi Yoichi. Now, Isagi has a current salary of 150 million, which is really high, and he definitely deserves that amount. I'm gonna give it to you straight though. I think Isagi's salary should be higher than what it is currently. You'll see what I mean because let's just go through his performances in every single game. Barca, he made a game-winning assist. Not too much. It gave him 17 million for that. I think the 17 million for Barca was deserved because Isagi didn't do much, but that's completely the opposite for the Munchen match. He didn't score as well, but he did give 2 assists in this game, as well as defended, brought the ball upfield, beat Nagi in a 1v1, and still had time to talk trash to Kaiser. He got 33 million for this. I think plot absolutely nerfed him here. He should have been worth 70 million because the amount of things Isagi did during Munchen was absolutely crazy. He pretty much replaced the defenders and midfielders as a one-man army, moving upfield with Corona and then defending against Nagi and Ryo, and then blocking a master striker shot. He also would have scored if Kaiser didn't grief him. What's done is done though, and after Munchen, Isagi should have been at least 70 million. Now we move to the Ubers, and the stats just get crazier and crazier. I actually think they made Isagi a little too good during this game. He immediately started off with a goal showing off a completely different weapon, and then you see him move upfield and get past the unbreakable Ubers defense. And then he somehow wraps around, I'm talking fitness grand pacer test, and starts defending as well, blocking last minute shots, trying to outread another master striker, and also utilizing his teammates to give them an advantage, which almost worked. What was Isagi smoking this match? Because after this, he scored another goal, which both had the flashy factor to it and was the game-winning goal against Ubers. This game alone should have given him 130 million, making him at 200 million currently. Honestly, maybe even more than 130 million. They obviously made Isagi less than Rin, so Rin is more hyped up for the Pxg game. I think Isagi definitely should have gotten more because of how much he's contributed. However, we still have one more game for Isagi, and that is, of course, the Pxg game. Currently, Isagi has 1 goal in this game, the only one from Bastard's side, and this was not just flashy, this was the whole goddamn paparazzi, because when the hell did Isagi get this weapon? What in the Nagi Seishiro is this goal? Isagi pulled out the bunny from the hat, not even a bunny, he pulled out 2 Glocks from the hat and shot the goddamn ball. Not only that, Isagi went against 3 Pxg defenders, Rin, and Pxg's 12th member, Kaiser, and somehow still managed to score this goal. And this isn't even where Isagi stopped. Some players after their goals tend to fall off and do nothing for the rest of this match, but Isagi somehow got better after this. They're literally making him too overpowered. He started playing alongside the Triforce triangle that is Corona and Hiyori, and literally starts dribbling over Kaiser. This is diabolical. Defensively, Isagi hasn't done that much in this match as he did in the Ubers, but who expected that from him anyways? He's literally a forward, and it's better that way so they can give Raichi and Kunigami some more time to shine. Regardless, with all the feats he's pulled off as of right now, I think that goal and everything he's done in the Pxg game should be worth another 50 million. He showed off a completely new, unexpected weapon from him, as well as the game reading and midfielder feats Isagi has pulled off in the Pxg match. Well, that brings up Isagi to 250 million as his true salary, being literally an all-rounder while still scoring impressive goals and showing new tricks up his sleeve. It's no wonder why he's the ace of Bastard. Here we are at the final player, and that is Itoshi Rin, the player with the oddly 198 million salary. I don't know why they made it an off number like that. I think if you have an 198 million salary, there really isn't too much you could go up for. Rin already has an insane amount of goals in 6, which also makes him the second highest, if not tied for the highest if he scores this match. Rin currently in the Pxg game hasn't done too much. I guess picking up Isagi with one arm and jumping is crazy. Rin needs to join a powerlifting competition at this point. We haven't seen Destroyer mode, which is really unfortunate, but he did show it off against Munchen and his hat trick, so and I think that was already all accounted for in the 198 million. can also expect him to be the same all-rounder per usual from what we've seen in the PXG game. He passed up a bunch of players up in the midfield and also defended against the Kaiser Impact. We haven't seen any goals from Rin. Rin's goals aren't as flashy as Shidou's as well, but showing off new techniques like he did against Barca definitely helps. I know I'm kind of basing it off current and future, but for Rin, I'm gonna do some predictions for him. I think right now his salary is currently what he deserves, because honestly, he hasn't met expectations during this match, or I guess the plot hasn't progressed to where we've seen him play. But if we actually see him start playing the game, we can maybe see him score a goal or using destroyer mode, and I think that would be worth another 50 million salary. Taking account he is also defending and rocking the midfield like Isagi, I think Rin would tie Isagi at 250 million salary based on what we've seen from the both of them. They're both super versatile, both pretty much the stars of their teams and the current number 1 and 2. An increase like this just makes sense for both of them. So we went over every single character's salary with the sole purpose of fixing and giving accurate salaries for all of them, and I think we accomplished our mission. This is me just basing off the top of my head from what I remember and then the chapters I reviewed to make this video, so maybe some players deserve a higher or lower salary than what I actually put. If you think anyone deserves a higher or lower salary than what I actually gave, make sure to put it all in the comment section down below. And if you watched to the end, thank you guys so much for watching. My name's Hiryo, and I'll see you guys next one.